Welcome to the Dungeon Master Academy, Mastering the Realms. I'm your host, Dungeon Master Jeff. Here on the DMA, we discuss and break down third-party Dungeons & Dragons adventures with the writers and creators themselves. The goal is to gain valuable insight on how to best run the adventure at your gaming table. Then the fun begins with live gameplay. We use the writer's inside scoop, along with a group of rambunctious Dungeons & Dragons players, and run their adventure. What could possibly go wrong? I also have Dungeon Master Angelo and Dungeon Master Jeremy. They're here for added insight. And for our featured adventure today, I'm absolutely thrilled to be joined by
Martine Lassen. Martina
is the co-writer of Rock, Paper, Pistols with Stephen Hill, which is the first in the AD Astra series, where she is also the project manager on. Welcome, Martina.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here.
Hey, Martina, why don't you give us a little bit of character backstory on yourself?
So as you said, I'm in Norway. I'm quite far south, like at a small island at the edge of the country, really. So it's like Denmark, just across the pond from here. I'm a mother of a preteen girl. Live with my husband in a house with a white picket fence. And apart from playing, I'm a teacher, work at the local school. So there's a lot of work. Then I study at the side, so I'm writing a master's degree right now about AI. And then I find some time to play between all of those things.
So how did you get into playing D&D? And what was your path to writing adventures like?
When I was in my 20s, I finally found someone who knew how to play D&D, and we met up. We played one session of 3rd edition before we realized that we were the only ones. And I didn't really find anyone to play with until 2017, when I realized my game shop actually ran Adventures League. And I was like, hey, this is a thing. I can meet up with random people and just sit down at the table and have fun. And about a year in, I started DMing, and when I started reading adventures, that really triggered my creativity. So I wanted to make my own stuff and get that out there.
Rock, Paper, Pistols is the first in the AD Astra series. Where can I find it, and what comes in the adventure package?
So, as you said, it's the first episode of Ad Astra, and a lot of it is already published on DM's Guild. This adventure comes, of course, with a beautiful PDF. We have Jeremy doing layout. Like, Ad Astra has a huge team, in a way. So we have someone on layout, we have someone on art, we have someone on cartography, we have editors, we have sensitivity readers, we have everything. And all of us are Dungeon Craft writers. So we just grouped up and put our efforts together. It's been a lot of fun. And in the pack, there is the PDF, so beautiful. And but there's also a printer-friendly version of it. There are maps, and we try to make the maps generic enough so you can use them in other adventures as well. Like, if you have a marketplace, here's a map for it, and you can reuse that one. There are extra map assets, like crates and stuff, that you can put in there where you want them to be, and you can have the players move them around if you want to. The art is so awesome. I think Douglas really managed to capture the sense of it, so it's like art with action and movement in it. And I got an extra art asset more than he was supposed to make for mine, because there were so many scenes he wanted to make.
Why'd you decide to write an adventure? And what's it like writing with a team? I've never done that before.
Like, I've always liked to write. Ever since I was in school myself, it was something I wanted to do, but I never had any stories to tell. And suddenly, when I was playing D&D, there were all these stories out there that just had to be told. For Ad Astra, we were like going together, all of us, like we want to make something big where we get to show different kind of voices. So Jason has the story lead on this, so he made a lot of beats that the rest of us can catch up with, and then we have our own voice and our own story to tell within that story beat. so to say.
I understand you're quite involved in the AL community for Nordic conventions. What's that journey been like?
Back in the CCC times, you needed a convention to be able to write an adventure. And we had like a few conventions, but none of them ran Adventures League. So I was like, okay, if I want to write and run my Adventures League, I need to get into that convention and start doing AL there. So the past years, I've been hosting Adventures League tables there, and we are writing adventures for that convention. They are published as Archon adventures, so we try to make adventures that fit that convention within that frame. So I'm kind of happy that it was that limit back then, because that really gave me the push to get into the convention scene in a way.
Since you've been team writing a series of adventures with individual authors, how does that dynamic work?
Like, so Jason comes up with, I want these things to happen. And the spoiler time, he is saying, this dude needs to die, and he has a box, and the players have to unlock the box somehow. Here you go, this is your adventure, right? And I'm like, I want to put this adventure on Brawl, simply because I love having the major cities play a role. Like, I love exploring places that I can explore in different adventures. And I didn't feel like making my own wild space system would be natural for this. So I'm like, yeah, Brawl is perfect. It's a huge city. They have a lot of assets that they can use. It's perfect for a sandbox. I love sandboxes. And just get in there.
So what's the adventure about? What awesome storylines can we look forward to?
So you have two different stories going on at once. At the one side, you have the faction wars, which is what Adastra is about, right? You have two factions. It's the Kyriakos and Clamp Combine. They are pretty much at war, but not openly, at least not on Brawl, but they are competing, hidden, sort of Cold War like something. And then on the other side, you have all the NPCs, all their personal stories, like Hughes when he's dying. And spoiler time, he is looking for his daughter, right? So the players can both explore both stories, both the overarching thing, like the thing that will go through all the Adastras, and also the personal thing, like why did he leave her behind like that? Why is he being away for so long? Why hasn't he found her yet? What makes someone do that kind of sacrifice?
Personally, I love a good villain. So who's the big bad evil person in this adventure?
Like, from the Kyriakos, you have the total organization is sort of presented here as the big bad guy that you want to save this lockbox from them. They are represented by Michaela, who's the local villain, but it's hopefully it's obvious that there are other bad guys out there. Like, Mikael is just one of the person who happened to be on Brawl right now. There are other people, other places that will have a larger role to play later on.
Since Rock, Paper, Pistols is part one in the series, where do they go from here?
Okay, so at the end of the adventure, the total, like the conclusion, hopefully, if they manage to stay alive, is that the players summon the Monad, the train, and the Monad will take them through all the adventures, like through all the Adastra adventures, and where they can meet more factions, which will make it more intricate, at the same time as keeping all the adventures contained enough so you can play one of them without knowing really what has been happening before, what's happened after. But if you have played them, more of them, you can put more pieces together eventually.
I absolutely love all the art. It's Douglas Bushlong, right?
It's Douglas. Yeah. He
Amazing stuff.
You should see his other adventures as well. Like, they are like Beneath a Stony Stump. It's one of those adventures that I love to run over and over again because it's so fun to see how the players react to it, and also the artwork there really, pulls the heartstrings as well.
I'm DM Jeremy. I'll just ask you some questions about the pillars of play regarding the adventure, which I gotta say, like it's been said already, the quality of this thing is just out of this world. It's amazing. But when it came to encounter building or combats and such within the pillars of play, the final battle is super dynamic. Can you tell us a little bit about how you put that together and your favorite parts within it, as well as, keeping NPCs alive?
Yeah, I feel like you can't really challenge players directly in AL. Like they know they will be resurrected afterwards. They don't have anything at stake. But the NPCs are gone if you lose them. So like put something else in there that they can actually want to protect, right? If you end up with Eliza being present, or even if they resurrected Hughes and he's there, that has happened. Then it's like, yeah, they have invested so much in those NPCs, hopefully, that they will want to see them survive. So sure, attack the players a bit, but also get in on the NPCs just the right amount, so that they get that feeling. I do enjoy waves, particularly as a DM, because that means I can adjust on the fly more easily. Like if they are drowning, I hold back a little. I'm not gonna send in the full wave if they feel totally lost. But at the same time, if they feel too confident, okay, let's double the amount that's coming in now. Send them in. For that, I also like that they are coming in from the south as well. Like the players mostly, they are prepared from the north, so they have built crates on top. They are protecting the northern side, and then suddenly swoop from the other side. Hey, there are some flying pigs. The main problem there is that it can take a bit too long. So keeping that short and effective at the same time, like I don't want it to take more than 45 minutes because that drags on too long, which means that keeping the pace and rather pushing on the urgency more.
So you did already mention some of the NPCs that you've put into the adventure. I was wondering if you could tell us which ones are your favorite and which ones perhaps, players have role played with the most.
So my favorite there are two that I really enjoy. Like the moment the players meet Eliza and they realize who she is, that's like a moment of silence around the table. Like there's this dread when they realize, okay, we know what happened to her father. Her father is dead. She doesn't know. We're the ones who have to reveal to her that her long lost dad was so close to finding her, so close to returning, and didn't. And that silence is, it's shattering. And she's also like one of those NPCs that actually changed during the adventure. She has a story that will develop, and the characters can influence, like, what will she do? Will she join Clan Combine, or will she find her own place, her own family, make her own household on the Rock of Brow? Like they can help her find a better place than with the Red Masks. On the other hand, there's Clifford, and Clifford is just pure humor. Like this robot standing there just pushing out what's it called? Premonitions? Yeah. And all of those are true in a way. Like if you play through the Ad Astra series, all of the premonitions will come true, probably. So there's a lot of meta going on there. And he's just Yeah, I don't know, but when I play him, I feel like he's trying to say something to the characters, but at the same time, he can't say anything. Like, he can just push out those pieces of paper.
Regarding the exploration pillar of play, you mentioned earlier that you really like the sandbox style of play. And I'm curious, because you've given us a lot of, I guess, tools to play with. What were some of your favorites that you put in there?
I like the map. Like, the first playtest I did, they were just standing there with the box, and the guy ran off. Like, okay, there's a werewolf running in that direction. I have a box there, and they were very lost. So, like, okay, I need to give some kind of key, some kind of puzzle to the players that they can solve, and the map is perfect, honestly, for that. It gives them just the right amount of clues that they know that there are places that are more natural to visit. And Hughes has written his notes on it, so you know where he's been and where he hasn't been yet. And it gives the players something to work on, so they're not completely blank when standing there. They have somewhere to start. They just have to choose which one. I enjoy puzzles a lot, but I enjoy the kind of puzzles that don't need one solution. So in that way, the map is a puzzle, but there isn't like one solution to it. You can go anywhere and it will probably solve itself eventually. The same with the lockbox. It's a puzzle. You need to open it. How to do that? But spoiler, many of the parties I've had, they have witnessed a murder. They must tell the authorities. So they go to the magistrate. And then suddenly that rock is just laying there, just happens to be in that office, right? And suddenly you have a key to the puzzle, but you didn't follow any clues to get there. You just went by what is ethical and what's right. But still, it's there with its asshole. It's also fun to roleplay.
So once again, thank you for your time, Martina. I'm Angelo, and I've just got a couple more things to add. In regards to the adventure, there's so many different things in it. Like this adventure is full of content. What sorts of kind of roadblocks do you think are possibly that DMs or players could run into that can kind of bog things down that you could have some insights on how to get through?
Like the first one is making decisions. And sometimes the players will forget which clues they haven't looked into. So, like reminding them that you did have that map. Was there something on that you haven't looked at yet? Or you seem to recall that there was like this rock that was really heavy in the magistrate's office. Like suddenly that comes to you, like helping them see things that they have seen, but maybe forgot to notice at the time.
Okay.
One of the things that could, like when you are entering the Kyriakis headquarters, that could be a full adventure on its own, right?
Absolutely.
So we were sitting, Steve and I were sitting, and we were like, well, how can we make this this section that it could be so big? How can we make that into this small section, like a 15-minute thing? And we're like, okay, you need to make it easy enough so they don't have to do a lot. They need to plan really well, and if they plan well, it works out. Like, do you have a plasmoid in the party? Allow them to sneak through the cracks. Yeah, okay, they have to find a way to get it back out because the rock is too big, but for them to enter, no problem, right?
Yeah,
so
that's
giving them it is, or like someone's like, well, there's a wall, let's make a hole through the wall. Sure, you do that. It's it doesn't have to be very sneaky, very heisty, going in, trying to get past the guards or anything. At the same time as keeping the sense of dread, in a way, keeping the Kyriakis always lurking, always nearby, always chasing the party. If they're standing too long in one plays, oh, they see someone with uniforms coming this way. Okay, we have to get moving, otherwise we will. Yeah, and if they want to fight, sure, let them fight, but then they're wasting valuable time.
That, speaking of dread, that final combat can be like, I can see that going in a lot of different ways. These are only tier 1 characters, and like you said, even though like, you know, they can come back easily because it's Adventures League and whatnot, when you're in that kind of a situation, you were saying that you try to keep it to around 45 minutes. If you look and you're only on like round 4 and it's been 40 minutes passing, do you just try to wrap it up, or do you try to play out?
No, I try to wrap it up. I skip some rounds, like I narrate some bits and then skip further along. Like it also depends on your players. If you know you have players that enjoy combat a lot, well, sure, let them have a full hour, but do that by removing parts on the other side. Like then you shorten part 2 instead. They don't spend as much time role playing with the priests or those kind of things. So, so knowing your party, knowing what they will enjoy, so they don't feel cheated. For me, interrupting their wonderful combat with narrating the end, it's we don't want that.
No, that's that's a lot of really good insight. When running this adventure, I love how at the very beginning, like, you know, the party is just kind of on the Rock of Brawl, and all of a sudden this guy comes up to them and hands them this box, turns to run away, and blam, you know, they just watch the guy get murdered in the middle of the square. What kind of advice can you offer to kind of like really hit that scene and kind of like push it to get those players rolling into the decision-making processes that are to come?
Number 1 would probably be who gets the box. You want to give it to the most quiet player. So they are in charge of the box.
Love that. Love that.
That will push them more like up front.
I love that. That's a really good idea.
From there, even though it's the Rock of Brawl and the Low City, it's still a place where there are witnesses, there are guards. People will notice a murder has happened. So you need to decide something in a way. If you're standing there too long, you will be caught by the guards, and the guards will see you standing over a corpse without doing anything. Like, what did you do to this guy? And we're like, no, we didn't do nothing. Okay, well, you better come to the magistrate and tell him that.
That's a really good way to kind of like push the adventure forward. If the party gets stalled, is to just bring them in and continue the adventure that way. So keeping kind of like along those lines, what kind of like fun tropes or like fun little bits of like flair do you put in when you're running it to kind of create that panic and urgency to make the party make those decisions faster?
Honestly, I play a lot with people who love roleplay, so they will mainly push through that themselves.
Okay.
But again, picking up that player hasn't said anything in a long time, like asking them, okay, they are talking about these things, what are you doing? Or having an NPC walk by, like, feel free to move the NPCs around. If you need someone there, get the kid from the tavern in there instead, you know? He walks by and he's asking for direction. He's not his local, but you know, he probably has something, or he recognizes something, or yeah. I don't have any tips. Sorry.
That's okay. So D&D players are very creative, and by nature, this is kind of one of the things that we love most about this game. During your play testing or your live game that you've run this, like, you know, in a convention setting or at a local store, even just with your friends, what is your favorite story moment that's happened that you never thought of, that or like that just kind of like caught your attention when the play was happening?
I think one of the times the first time I played it live, I was at a store in Oslo, and I ended up with a table with only new players. And seeing fresh players in this adventure, which is not very typical in a way, seeing them interact with it was so great. It really gave me that feeling that I have made something that connects with people, and it can be so many different things. Some people are like invested in Hughes the moment they see him, while others they find other things, other sections that speak to them in a way.
That's why we love this in general, right? It's so entertaining to see all the different reactions from people.
Yeah, and just how differently they react to seeing a werewolf, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are they terrified, or are they saying, "I'm level 4, I can take this guy"?
It's
and
like,
they can.
You killed someone, huh?
Oh yeah, and that's viable,
Yeah,
right?
it is.
Ironically, he usually survives, while his poor henchman, he's usually dead.
Oh, no. Just speaking on kind of like another, like, interluding from like the henchmen, the NPCs. I have a soft spot personally for Beholderkin. They're usually a lot of my favorite creatures when it comes to like, enemies and NPCs. And seeing large Luigi has kind of like this like jolly beholder who's like happy to tell everybody everything and is just like wants to engage with people. Do you think that large Luigi would make like a good kind of like my party is stuck, the dice have hated them, put them in this tavern and let large Luigi help them out and send them somewhere that might be valuable?
Honestly, those are the two reasons he's there.
Okay,
Firstly, because when I read the book, I was like, I need him in my adventure. Like, if someone has played through some adventure on the Rock of Brawl before and know Luigi is there, that would be my instant go-to place. Like, if I know Brawl, okay, I need information, I will go there. So he needs to be in the adventure because of that. Also because he's awesome. And
I was like, I'm sending my players here if I run this early because
well, it's very natural. Like, if they are stuck, they will look for a tavern. And there are two, so they get to choose which one. And either one they pick, they will either be pushed in some direction, or they will get to know that, okay, the things that we already learned, Luigi is supporting those things.
This has been amazing insight. Thanks so much. So what's up next on the writing front?
Okay, so with the extended deadline, I want to wrap up some of my stories that started when I first started writing. I started these stories about Marcus, who had this mystery illness. And Marcus has been going through some trouble over the years, but now I want to finish his story. So I'm together with Christian, who also co-wrote Many Happy Returns, and he wrote Dragon Ship Approaches. We are making one tier 1 adventure, which wraps up some of the story threads from other stuff, and then a trilogy about Marcus at the end. And that will be 2-hour tier 3 adventures. So like all of them are almost ready, just needs the final touches and waiting for the art, which I have paid for because I have this artist whom I adore. So booked her for even a cartoon in one of them.
Hey Martina, do you have any advice for first-time adventure writers?
Like, first off, when you're starting, I recommend reading a lot of adventures, particularly using the new templates, and reading reviews of adventures. Like, if you have an adventure you love, read reviews for it. Listen to what different voices are saying about it. There are some adventures out there that some people really enjoy and others hate them. And that's fair. People are different. So you need to find, what do I like? What do I want to play? What do I want to DM? And then write that. Because there are others out there who enjoy the same things. Like sandboxes. Like you and me, Jeff, we love sandboxes, but not everyone does. So yeah, find what you like, find a way to present it in a way. Have an editor, like ask a friend, find a mentor in the Dungeon Craft community who also knows the template, knows how things are usually done. Listen to their advice, run it by other people if you disagree, because pushing the boundaries can be good, but there's a reason why it's there. So figuring out, is this a boundary that needs to be there? Is this a boundary that is ready to be pushed and done something about? Yeah, I think that's, and again, having an editor, editing your own adventures, it rarely works out well. I've tried. So having someone else read through it, see if it makes sense, and finding those spelling errors. And for me, like non-native English speaker, fixing my language, it's vital. I just want to also say, like, when I first started the Dungeon Craft Designers Discord, I didn't really know what I was doing. I just saw that there's like this space, there's like this vacuum of people who need to talk to each other, and everyone will benefit from improving our own work, improving the others' work, because the quality improves drastically. And seeing that grow and seeing that being a community where people are helping each other, it's been so beautiful to see. Also having Nordic on the other side, doing Conmar and Archon and all of those things. I have to say, Kasper Kirketab Helenius has been like the rock by my side through so much of this. So we have gone through so many things that have been parallel in a way, and I'm not sure if I would have been able to make it without him.
Aw, that's sweet. Any last minute advice for DMs?
Just hang in there and be creative, have fun with the adventures. Don't let what we authors write stop you from doing what you think is the best solution, in a way. When you DM for your own group, and you know them best. If there is a tweak that you think should be made, do it. Feel confident that you're the DM, you run your table. We just put the adventure there to be played.
Great advice.
And that's going to wrap up our Q&A portion. Next up, I'm going to run the adventure, so make sure you check out the next episode. And thanks, Martine, for all your support. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Dungeon Master Angelo and Dungeon Master Jeremy, for joining me today. And this is the Dungeon Master Academy, a master of the realms. I'm Dungeon Master Jeff. Peace out.